Here in West Tennessee, we are blessed to be able to grow some really rank cover crops. Our growing season allows for that. The challenge then becomes learning how to manage those crops and being able to plant into those in the spring without sacrificing your sanity or having a major equipment dilemma. So I wanted to take today, we've been rained out of the field for a month now. We have not turned a planter wheel since April 25th. It is May 27th, and hopefully we're on the back side of that now. I hope we catch a window here pretty soon to get some work done, but since it is wet, I wanted to do a planter walkthrough on our corn and bean planter. The first one we're going to look at is our corn planter. I feel like we've tried just about every variation of planter setups over the past 2-3 years. So the very first year we tried this, we were using the same rig here. This is a John Deere 8120 tractor pulling a John Deere 1770 NT 30-inch 16-row box field planter. We have got Precision Planting hydraulic Downforce on it. We put that on new this year. We've also got Precision Planting vDrives. We put that on about 6 years ago. The first year we tried planting green, we was into a cover crop that was about 4 or 5 feet tall. It had a lot of legumes, a lot of viney legumes out there, and I really didn't change much. I kept my row cleaners, I kept my no-till Coulter. The closing wheels were the same, Copperhead closing wheels. I did try running a drag chain, quickly found out that was not going to work. I think I drove about 150 feet and looked like we were baling hay on the back end, so I had to pull those off, and I think I could have wrote a book on how to cuss a planter that day. I was so frustrated. I left the row cleaners on that time, same way with the no-till Coulters, but since then we've planted into some 6-7 foot tall cover crop with a lot more viney legumes in it, and they show no mercy. So we have had to trend toward taking our row cleaners off on the planters and our no-till Coulters off. Now we're going to do a row unit walkthrough. So this is a 2007 model 1770 NT Maximurge XP row unit. And we have the Copperhead closing wheels on the rear. Like I said, I used to run a drag chain. I took those off after our first time planting green after about 150 feet. We were baling hay, and Vetch and everything else were wrapping around those chains, pulled them off. I left those arms, and I kind of wonder if they don't help. So I kind of feel like they may help push some of the high biomass away from the closing wheel. They didn't create any problems after I took the chain off, so I just left them. We did remove the row cleaner and the no-till Coulter. You can see down the whole planter there. There are no Coulters, there are no row cleaners. Since removing the Coulters, I wanted to try this Prescription Tillage Technology STP disc opener. It's a serrated blade. One disc opener is larger in diameter than the other, and the teeth kind of interlock the other side. One side spins a little bit faster. It's supposed to create a shearing action, and the corn that we have been able to plant so far, I think we've got a really good stand on it given the conditions we've had to plant in. They're not quite as tight as a regular disc opener. I know the standard is 2 inches of blade to blade touching. These are from 3/4 of an inch to an inch is the recommendation on those. Those Copperhead closing wheels are the originals that we bought on this planter. They are, I'm going to bet they're probably 8 to 10 years old now, and they have held up really well. I think it is important that this shape here is easy for grasses or anything like that to release. I know some of the other spikes tend to like to hang on to some of the cover crop and wrap. So far I've not had any real problem out of these. We have always ran a Keeton I know some areas guys don't like those, but normally, or in the past, we always ran those white ones. I put the black non-stick Keeton on this time. Gauge wheels have always been the same. We have not changed those. A lot of the guys that talk about planting green and have done it for many years always say to plant your seed deeper than you would normally in a regular no-till situation. I find that to be true for a few reasons. So first of all, you're usually laying down a really thick layer of biomass on top of the ground or having to plant through it. And sometimes that stuff can be 2 to 4 inches thick. And it's very important to lower your depth setting and make sure you're getting really good seed to soil contact and not just laying it in the trash. As far as Downforce goes, this planter came with regular factory airbags on it when we bought it. We have ran that planter that way for as long as we have owned it. This past year we installed Precision Planting hydraulic Downforce, their DeltaForce. We did install it ourselves. A little bit of a learning curve there. I'm not going to say it was just the easiest thing to do, but once you get it all figured out, it goes on pretty quickly. This year we also put on the DuraWear parallel arms from Precision Planting. They've got a hardened bushing in there that keeps the unit tight, keeps it from wearing out. The actual arm itself, you can replace that hardened bushing in there if you get any slop in the parallel arm in the future. So those are really nice. They're really heavy. I think they're doing a good job for us. All in all, I really like this planting setup here. This 8120, we're running a John Deere 7000 series Starfire Globe on it. We are using a Precision Gen 2 2020 monitor. I know they've got the Gen 3s out now. This Gen 2 works pretty well for us. We're running a 4640 display. Running an iPad for field view. And the planter setup works well in all conditions. No-till with minimal cover, no-till with heavy biomass cover crops, and even conventional situations if you had to run in and work up a wet hole or something like that. Really versatile all around, good tool. Okay, so we're back here at our main shop. This is where we do most of our work. We are using a John Deere 8295R to pull our Kinze 3700 24 row 20-inch bean planter. You can plant other things with it. We just use it to plant beans. The tractor is a 2011 model. We're running a John Deere Starfire 6000 receiver with a Gen 5 Plus display. This Kinze planter is your standard, regular, bare bones Kinze planter. It's all ground driven. The Downforce are just your regular springs, factory springs. It's all chain drive. I will say, compared to the Deere, the 1770 we have that's all electric, all of the chains that are on the planter everywhere, running to every row, all of these chains here, they do have a tendency to get wrapped or can get wrapped and then throw your chain off when you're planting into really heavy cover crop. We have also pulled the row cleaners and the no-till Coulters off of this planter. We just recently did that because the cover crop has gotten so big. I was nervous about running through all of this when it was this mature and it not wrapping. So we pulled all of that off and it's in here now. I've removed all of the old closing wheels because they had a tendency to wrap too. So the old closing wheels we used were the Yetter Poly Twisters. It's a good closing wheel. I don't have anything bad to say about it other than when you're planting into 6-7 foot tall, high, heavy rank biomass cover crops, they do have a tendency to wrap, and I didn't want to deal with that anymore, so we decided to go with a different closing wheel, and I'll show you that here in a second. But I do want to run out here real fast and show you the old row cleaners and Coulters we were using on this bean planter. Step out here real quick. They're on the pallet. So the row cleaners that came on the Kinze planter were the regular Kinze style row cleaner, like that right there. We added those Martin treader wheels to the row cleaner. That right there. I think that helps. Keeps it up out of the ground. And the no-till coulter we were running is right here. It's just this real thin coulter. I did pull the row cleaners off and still keep the coulter on, and I tried that for a while, but a lot of the vetch and other stuff would get hung up on this frame here. Would get down in there in that bearing, and I'd have to dig that out every day, multiple times a day if you were in real heavy cover. So up until this month of rain, I was going to roll on with our Yetter poly twisters. I think they would have probably been okay. I do think they would have wrapped some. I know they would have wrapped some, because where I had just planted before we started getting rain, I did have a slight issue out of them there. But the cover crop has changed dramatically, and I did not want to risk having a problem after losing a whole month of time. So I got to looking around and found these Schaffert closing wheels. I called Schaffert Manufacturing, talked to them for a while. I used to have a planter that had the Schaffert Mohawk wheels on them, and it did really well. Was very satisfied with how that wheel performed. It did not wrap at all, and I was planting through some really tough stuff. I called thinking I might buy a set of those, and they talked me into trying these zipper wheels. I think they're going to be good. This first set here is how they're meant to be ran, like if you're in a regular no-till scenario, not a whole lot of biomass on top of the ground. I got to talking to them about the scenarios we're planting into, and he recommended turning them around. So you'll run a right wheel on the left side and a left wheel on the right side, and then you'll flip them to where the teeth are on the inside. And he was saying that the cover crop does not wrap after you do that. This is the rear view of a closing system that is completely set up and ready to roll. You want 2 1/4 to 3 inches of space between the bottom of this ring here, where the ground comes into contact with the bottom of this ring. 2 3/4 to 3 inches of gap. Once again, this particular row unit is set up to handle cover crop. That's why the teeth are turned in on both wheels. And same way with this one, the only difference is these don't have the plates. This is how they're normally ran, with the teeth out. They offer 3 different versions of this wheel. So the wheel that I went with for the most part were these that have the cutout in the side. It lightens the wheel up quite a bit. These are a cast wheel. Nothing will stick to it, no dirt, no mud, anything like that. They also offer this solid wheel, which I thought would be a really good fit for cover crop scenarios to keep it from wrapping. That is the reason why we went with this plate here. This is the old linkage that the closing wheels would bolt up to. They also sent us a couple 4-link closers, and we're going to give them a shot. So this replaces the OEM closing linkage on the rear, and we bolted that up and got a set of zipper wheels here that we're going to run and see how it goes. We talk a lot about planter setup and getting the seed planted at the correct depth and consistency, but if you get through that and do a good job planting, your next concern with cover crop is all of the biomass that's still standing up. So we come in after we plant most often and lay that down with a roller crimper. We use a 30-foot I&J roller crimper. We also pull that with a John Deere 4640 tractor. It does have guidance, it does have auto steer, so we're using an ATU 300 with a 2630 display and a Starfire 6000 receiver on the top. Works pretty well for what we're doing. A lot of the time I drive by hand if we're following the planter anyway, so not a big deal. We've got a lot more to learn. I feel like every time we get into something else, there's a new lesson, and just like this last month of rain, there's a lot more challenges that we're going to have to try to figure out. So I'm looking forward to the changes we've made on the planters, seeing how they perform. And if you like what you're seeing, subscribe to our channel, hit us with a like, that helps other people find our videos. If you have a planter set up that you think is better or is doing a really good job for you or somewhere in between, please tell us about it in the comments and let us know your thoughts. And we really appreciate y'all watching. Thank you.